Welcome to the Scratch Calf talking turntablism. I'm Ollie and this is Dan.
Hang on a minute.
What?
What? You got it right.
No, I got it wrong, didn't I?
No.
I'm supposed to get it wrong.
You got it wrong.
I'm so glad you walked into that one, Dan.
Oh, God. Now I don't know what to say.
Well, I don't know. We've got a DJ on, Dan, who goes wiki with crossfaders and things.
Do you want to give him a quick intro?
Shall I? Well, I mean, you can't really... I mean, I've been racking my brain about his DJ name, and basically the only thing I can come up with is some, like, Southern American, yeehaw, Buckwilde. That's all I've got, I'm sorry. I can't, I'm not... My creativity's left me with the diarrhea I had yesterday, unfortunately.
Well, look, I'd like to bring to the stage an OG in the UK turntablist scene. Been around for a lot of battles, for a lot of time. Total stand-up dude, absolute legend for coming down and showing us some body tricks the other day at the Scratch Cafe as well. So I'd love to hear the stories from the wonderful DJ Buckwilde. Welcome, dude.
How we doing?
Yeah, man.
Very well. Dan's too busy to make me coffee, so I've had to get a monster punch.
That is shocking. Absolutely
so I'm gonna get this down now and buzz my fucking tits off.
So, I'm not sure whether you need any more energy, to be honest, Ollie. Jesus Christ.
I don't know. No, I'm
bouncing off the walls.
You know, like ADHD children get like crystal meth, like Ritalin.
So it doesn't affect you.
Yeah. I have a speed-based solution for it, and that's a fuck ton of coffee, basically, or whatever the fuck they put in these things. But yeah,
well, there we are. That's
so yeah, no, it was really interesting the other day to come to the Scratch Cafe. Actually, I was saying to you guys that we a few years ago we did a digital twin of Lost to Horizon for a virtual reality project, and then I was actually in the venue. I was like, this is so fucking familiar because I've been in it like hundreds of times in VR and like testing it and all this lot, and it was like I'm actually here. It was so.
Do you know
weird.
what was really funny about that? So Runtings, we ran the streams for that environment. So when Nick was telling me, I was like, what the fuck? We literally we ran that at the studio. What he built, we ran at the studio, and we recorded the artist on a green screen to put in there. So it was like really weird little sort of 360.
So yeah, Robin and that they did a big rave over lockdown with Fatboy, Carl Cox, Sasha, all that lot, and they had all the green screen footage of that, and we set up a system where you could like choose which DJ you wanted to listen to and things like that, and Ollie, it turns out, did all the recording of the DJs. So
it's mental.
Small world.
We were going to go up to Fatboy's house and do it, but we were so off our fucking faces during lockdown. There was like no feasible way we could bowl in and do that.
You probably would have enjoyed it, to be honest.
I don't know. I don't know, Nick. I don't know. You think I'm stone cold sober now? Like, imagine this, but with loads of drugs. Very bad. Very bad. But no, it's funny. Like wherever I go, I bump into people I've like worked with or not met, but like done things with. It's like really, really beautiful little scene we have, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? No matter what style of music you're in, what you do, you still bump into people that you've like accidentally worked with and stuff. Yeah, it's a wonderful little scene.
I think there's something pretty strange about turntablists. Like, although they're very sort of solitary creatures and things like that, but I think learning to scratch and things like that sort of gives you a basis for how to learn. Anyway, and so the projects that people do who are scratch DJs, they tend to sort of like branch out into sort of different things, and I think there's this sort of connection that goes on with people like that. Do you know what I mean? If you're doing stuff and you're actively involved in things, then you just make a big network. Do you know what I mean? And
well, we tend to get really obsessed. I definitely go, right, I'm doing this. This is all I'm doing for a period of time until the dopamine runs out. And then I'm like, I'm at loss. What am I going to do now? And I look somewhere else and do that for a bit. But then I'm still side-eyeing the turntables whilst I'm getting up to this. And I think it seems to be indicative of anybody that's crazy enough to just be able to spend like, an hour just go wiki.
Plus, I think there's a thing nowadays where like so much more of all these things, like all the creative stuff that you can get into, like is a lot more accessible than it used to be. Like you kind of used to have to kind of commit to your one thing that you were going to be amazing at. And now it's like, well, actually, you know, there's all this kind of stuff for production and all these different ways of producing music as well. And then you've got, can I get into light shows and animation? Like you look at like Woody or...
Oh, no.
Is that Random calling us?
Random's on the double
about that, Random. Yeah, he said, fuck you.
Yeah, I'm used to that, yeah. It's funny, actually. You think, fucking, like literally, when he picks up the phone and goes, what? Right, that's not just that is literally how he answers the phone to me when I call him. I just call him up on a Tuesday morning to talk to him about something, and he'll just go, "What?"
Yeah. Do you know what the big secret about Random is that he's actually a really, really nice guy.
He is actually one of the most beautiful people in the world. You know what? So I saw he's got a fridge that insults him. So he bought letters, right? And he for some reason I ended up with a picture of his fridge, and he's got an insulting sentence on his fridge.
Is he?
Yeah,
he goes to the fridge, he gets insulted.
Those were big in the 90s. You used to get like little magnets, and you could like it was meant to be for writing like poems on your fridge.
Yeah, no.
What everyone ended up doing was just like, yeah.
Random said something horrible, so I was like, well, that's the best thing ever. So I bought some, and I just wrote, "You're a loser."
Yeah, you suck.
Every time I go to the fridge, I'm like, oh, maybe you're not as good as you thought you were 2 minutes ago.
We're dissing ourselves, aren't we? Do you know what I mean?
Random. But yeah, I do think there's a thing in that, like people moving around doing more and more stuff. Like, you know, Woody did all the kind of AV stuff that's still like super cool. You know, we're talking of Tommy, and Tommy does loads of like music production and stuff like that. And that's all. And now he's like collaborating. It's like, I do feel like you're right. There's like it's the obsessive mind that like figures out how you kind of learn and grow. And then, you know, and you're off.
Well, also, I was talking to my mate the other day, and he was saying that you could back engineer. Think of a time where you were sort of very content, or something good was happening in your life, and you can pull it back to like a certain sort of thing. So if you guys, for example, think about how the Scratch Cafe started, for example, do you know what I mean? And it's like, well, if I didn't know that guy or that person, we didn't meet in the supermarket and have this chat, or do you know what I mean? And it just goes, and that happens like all the way through.
No, the Scratch Cafe didn't start like that. No, it didn't start like that. No. Literally, do you not know how it started? I can tell. Have we told the story on this? I don't think we told the real story though, did we? We told the step. Basically, I just wanted
back engineer.
I just wanted to back scratch for people, and I just looked around going, "Who's dumb enough to do this with me?" And I saw I've been watching Mr. Big Man for a while. I'm like, that guy looks dumb enough to help me out with this. So I literally just went, "Dan, do you want to start a Scratch Cap?" He was like, "Yeah." That was it. There was none.
That was my intelligent response.
Yeah,
as well.
Like,
yeah, but you know,
even know each other.
I hear you though, Nick, because I think you're right. It's like the only reason we kind of knew each other was because of like onlineness, and then the common thread was Jimmy Needles' Scratch Jams, and he couldn't run them because it was just a bit too much to run or whatever. You know, like constantly having people over to his house and all that sort of stuff, and it was through the fact that couldn't happen. So, you know, if those had carried on happening, then the Scratch Cafe wouldn't
probably
exist.
would have happened, would it? Yeah.
If Ollie hadn't have thought I was just a moron, then that would never have, that would never have happened.
No, I definitely didn't think you were a moron. I thought you were addicted enough at your turntables to just go
now.
Scratch all night, one night a month. Yeah.
Sounds good. But no, I hear you, man. I think you're right.
I remember when the first DMC competition I went in for was in '97 in Sheffield, and I grew up in Hull, and out of the sort of 30 odd DJs there were there to do the afternoon sort of eliminations stuff, like there was 4 of us from Hull, and we'd never met each other before. And we're like, this is weird. Like there's, and so we then started, a DJ team together and always doing DMC together and stuff like that. And it's just, it's weird how these little things sort of just kick stuff off. And then we started, promoting a night, and we were like booking, people like DJ Noise and Cool Herc and all this. Do you know what I mean? And if you don't get yourself out there and do stuff, then nothing's going to come to you. Do you know what I mean? Like there must be some sort of a link why you guys are using Lost Horizon, for example. Yeah. So that's Robin, probably through you, Ollie.
It was it was Robin, and then I actually went to the same school with Robin, but only found that out later. And I started meeting Robin when we were doing the Lost Horizon VR thing that you set up, really, that was when I really sort of made a relationship with Robin. And funnily enough, Sparky, who ran the Cloak, was good friends with Maddie, who manages Lost Horizons. So actually, the first contact was through Maddie, through Sparky, and I knew Robin owned it. And I knew when Robin found out I wanted to do something there, he'd just go, "Yeah, it's Turntablism. Yeah, what, people come in and scratch all night?" He's like, "Yeah," you know what I mean? But this
great, isn't
I'll tell you what, mate. Oh no, that guy's got some stories. That guy's got some serious stories. Like, honestly, if he wrote just one of the stories he's told me, and I can't really talk about it, not because it's like bad or he's getting into like situations I can't talk about, but just it's not my story, and I feel like he needs to tell these stories. But it was to do.
You should have him on.
Well, yeah, no. The problem is with Robin, you struggle to get him for 2 minutes, let alone getting him to sit down for 2 hours.
You know, Shangri-La area in Glastonbury that he runs.
Yeah.
The crew walk around with t-shirts saying "I'm Robin Collins" on the back, because there's always somebody looking for Robin. Do you know what I mean? And so they're like, "Okay, there's his name on the back of a fucking t-shirt. They'll know where Robin is."
It's really fun. I call him Colin Robinson. Have you seen What We Do in the Shadows?
No, I haven't.
Colin Robinson's an energy vampire, basically. He's like the total opposite of like Robin. Robinson makes like a laid back, charismatic person, and Colin Robinson is just like somebody that goes around boring people. So I just call him that now. But yeah, the story. It was to do with his story was to do with the Millennium Olympics that were in London, and he had something to do with that. And at the very last minute, it fucked up, and he was deep in like millions and millions of pounds of investment.
Oh my god!
And like, he's the sort of guy that's like, "Yeah, it's happening. Just got to deal with it." He's like balls of steel, like literally.
Oh man, that'd kill me.
I tell you, if I could get him on the podcast to talk, honestly, that guy, he had me. I think we were in between doing Crust and somebody for the VR thing. And we were just sat in the garden, and he just started taking me into that story, and I was just mesmerized. I don't sit down for like more than 2 minutes, but I was sat there in a sunny garden, just listening to Robin just talk me through the intricacies of this crazy situation he just walked himself into, and just talking like it was me talking about going in the shop to get a cup of coffee, like he's talking about fucking this massive crazy thing. So yeah, anyway,
random.
Can you tell that? This thing's kicked
off. Yeah, it has ever so slightly. That'll be a first sponsorship deal, won't it?
Yeah, that's it.
So let's go back. So, how did you get into it all then? How did you get into this turntablism world? It wouldn't have been the first DMC in Hull. It would have been before that. How did you come to it?
Essentially, I was a teenager in the 90s, right? And if you were either into indie music or you were a raver, and I was a raver, and so essentially I started off DJing, rave stuff. I heard like a Sasha tape from the Eclipse in like '91, and I was just like, bang, that is it. I want to do that stuff. And my mate who was around the corner, he had some belt drive decks, and he was DJing a lot when we were like 13, 14. John Shepherd, his name is. He runs a label called Nice Up, I think it is. So eventually, after a while, I mean, also, so just going back, the difference between someone like me and Random is that I didn't come through like the b-boying stuff. Do you know what I mean? Because I was a raver. I was a bit too young for breaking and stuff in the 80s, but I remember it going on. And there were some big albums that came out like 89, 90 that was like De La Soul and NWA and Public Enemy and Tribe Called Quest, and listened to a lot of that stuff. And funnily enough, years later, me and my mate ended up supporting like De La Soul and things like that. Anyway, so then I was doing all the rave stuff in the 90s, and then my girlfriend at the time, she bought a VHS video which was the DMC Champions. It was like a sort of compilation of all like the champions from like Cash Money like up to Cuba, Mixmaster Mike and stuff, and I was fucking blown away. I was just like, I couldn't believe that what they were doing. Do you know what I mean? It was like, and then once I found out that there was a World Championships, for some reason I was just like, that's it. I'm gonna fucking do that. And at the time, to get into the DMC competition, you'd fill in a form in the back of DJing magazine, right?
Luke was talking about this one.
Post it off to them. So I fucking ripped out the form, I filled it in, sent it to them, and they send you this letter back going, yeah, all right, come to Sheffield on blah 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 date, and you've got to do the 2-minute elimination in the afternoon, and then, do you know what I mean? And so that whole like fucking process was just like right up my street. And I had another mate called Ian that was he could scratch and beat juggle, and he used to have his decks on the same side, you know, like Random has. So the mix is on one side, and actually, I know you don't like that, Ollie, but it kind of does make a lot of sense. It does make
loads of sense. Yeah.
Because you know, I scratch my right hand, on the crossfader, and you know, and so this hand is good at the turntable bits, or you know, it used to be. First time I entered, I had the decks on like the left hand side, and I was doing all that shit. Eventually, I got sort of normal or whatever. So yeah, and then yes, so watching the DMC VHS video, getting obsessed with it, practicing like fuck, because I was, you know, 15, 16, 17 at the time. Do you know what I mean? You got time in your hands then. And just sort of had something to work towards. And then, like I said, that first DMC in '97 in Sheffield, I met you know, Tim Yeomans, Fast T, like he's a really good OG. He's kind of like loop sort of style person, and a couple of other people. So we were always like hanging out together, and we did the thing where it's our sort of skill level just went whoosh. Do you know what I mean? Because we were all learning off each other, and we ended up actually entering the very first team championships. Yeah, so this is from '99. I got the lanyards. It's funny, Rasp, I sort of was on his Instagram, he's got this like hashtag every lanyard tells a story, right? And he's totally right. And so I ended up entering in '98 in Manchester, which is the one that Rasp and Luke all talk about. And you know, there was like fucking 40 people in it, and I actually got through to the night time for the first time. But going back to that, I wasn't a b-boy, I was a raver thing. So I always sort of like knew my place a little bit. Do you know what I mean? I always knew I wasn't necessarily going to be the fucking best, but I was just happy to be there and like, you know, enter. Do you know what I mean? And so our sort of main thing was like try and get on the DVD if you can. But that means, you know, having to fucking win a regional final, which back in like '98, '99 was fucking rock hard, like seriously hard. I don't know where all the turntables fucking came from back then, but there was just millions of them. So my other route into getting on the DVD, and this came a few years later, was to do the Supremacy battles, because I sort of saw that as slightly easier, because you'd go to the UK finals and you just do one afternoon battle with somebody, and if you beat them, you were like straight into the quarterfinals and on the DVD. So but that was 2006, 2007. So I'm jumping forward a bit.
Let me stop you there quickly, Nick.
Yeah, go
Let
for
me
it.
stop you there. So you're the first person to be motivated by being on the DVD. And this is the clearest cut answer I'm ever going to get to this question, because you've already given it to me. But what is it about being on the DVD that was so important to you?
I don't know. Because we'd watched so many, you know, every year you'd get the UK finals on video and the world finals. And it was kind of like the sort of benchmark thing. You know, you wouldn't, I mean, although I did start promoting my own nights in Hull, there wasn't a great deal of opportunity to actually get out and do gigs if you're a turntablist, if you like.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? So being on the DVD was kind of like, you know, doing a show. Do you know what I mean? And
right,
it was sort of the motivation. But like I said, I didn't get on any sort of DVDs or anything till 2006, 2007.
But you got on one.
I got on two, yeah.
You got on
both times I was fucking battling Switch. it was.
Be careful what you wish for, I think.
Oh, Jesus Christ. So in 2006 was like, I think the first time he entered, and no one really knew who he was or anything like that. And I thought, oh, this.
Oh
right.
No! So
And you
walked in there going, "Oh, this guy called Mr. Switch. I'm gonna smash him. He ain't got a chance.
Well,
never heard of him."
But then that year he won the fucking world finals. and then the next year it's like, oh my God, I've been drawn against fucking Switch again. So yeah, it was tough, but I did get on the DVD.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, in kind of like 99. So we were. If you could pull up actually one of those photos, there's a picture of some flyers.
Oh yeah, so Nick has
I've
given
got a
us
multimedia presentation.
We've got a multimedia. And basically, I believe this is going to make up for Rasp not being able
the flyers. There should be something that says something.
Yeah,
flyers.
There we go. Let's pull those up.
All right, so we put on a night called Mad Skills in Hull, and I was using a booking agent called Blue Eyes in Nottingham, and he was the promoter of Fresh. So Fresh 86, Fresh 87. You've heard.
We do have audio listeners, so before you talk about this, explain the flyer.
All right, so there's just a selection of some of the people that we booked. So we would always try and book turntablists. Yeah. So, we had DJ Noise, Vinrock, who was fucking unbelievable. We booked the Scratch Perverts, Cash Money, and Souls of Mischief, DJ Apollo, who was one of the Invisible Scratch Pickles.
I booked Souls of Mischief back in 2008 or 2009.
Do you know what I mean? That gig was weird because actually the person who was going to put them on pulled out at the last minute. And because I knew Blue Eyes, he said, look, if you can find a venue, they'll come and play for free. Right.
Whoa,
so last minute, I booked somewhere and about 35 people turned up. And we had this private fucking show from Souls of Mischief and DJ Apollo. And they were really chuffed. They were really cool about it. They were like, yeah, we just want to play a show, man. I was like, great. So, it was an interesting time. So we were, doing those nights. And then in 2000, I moved down to Brighton. Which is where I've lived ever since, and so that kind of like the whole thing was sort of done and dusted then. And like I said, we had a team, and we would DJ all the nights as well. And and we ended up, like I said, doing that 99 team championships, which was you can take the picture away now if you like. So the 99 team championships, it was in Ladbroke Grove in London. At this place called Subterranea, right? Random and his lot were in it. The lineup was fucking unreal. Like the Perverts, what were they called? The Executioners or it was Swifty and Pogo. The Mixologists, they were around for a bit, so that was they were fucking unbelievable. There was Surgical Cuts who were from Brighton. There was just this like all-star lineup of this team thing. But the crowd was fucking like, it was like a place full of randoms. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And every single team got booed no matter what.
Really?
And the Perverts were fucking really serious about the fucking battle. And you know what I mean? It was like the Perverts versus Swifty's crew. It was crazy. And then us lot went on, and I had a fucking nightmare. Like I thought I'd lost a record at one point during the set, and I was running around trying to find it and shit. And we fucked everything up. But that was a serious fucking battle. That was the one time where it was like the crowd were fucking. It wasn't like a normal UK final. It was just the UK battle. It was just the team battle, and so the atmosphere was just like. Unfortunately, there's no video of that. But if you ask Random what he thought the atmosphere was like, I think even he would have said like it was a bit much for me actually.
He was probably thriving in that.
Maybe
he was probably thriving. That boy. We were talking about hobbies earlier, and the other things we do apart from turntable. His hobby is literally chaos. That is what his hobby is. Yeah, he went away for the weekend this weekend, and he was like, "Oh, of course, so much trouble." You went. Oh my god.
Yeah. So let's see. So I moved to Brighton in 2000, and I'll start off on the Fatboy Slim story now, because I always scratched with bands for some reason. It was like a niche of mine. Of like being the scratch DJ in a band, right? So I joined this band that's like a fucking rockabilly band called Johnny Quality, right? That was set up by an American guy called Sean, and we sort of practiced, you know, for about a year or so, and then like the third gig we ever did, Fatboy Slim came to see us, right? It's interesting, right? I had a job at the time. I was working for a magazine called Making Money, which was this like trade magazine for franchises. Anyway, it's this really cushy job. And the manager said to me on the Friday, he goes, "Listen, on Monday we need you in at 6:30 in the morning because we're going to send you off to Cheltenham for sales training or some shit." And I said, "Well, on Sunday night we're doing this gig, and apparently Fatboy Slim's gonna turn up." And the boss said to me, he goes, "Look, if you're not here at 6:30 on Monday morning, you're sacked." I was like, "Okay, well, you know, I'll try, whatever." Anyway, we do this gig. Fatboy's there, and do you know where I was at 6:30 in the morning on Monday?
At work.
At Fatboy Slim's house still.
Okay, all right. So let's try and work out how much you like Fatboy Slim. So, which is your favourite Fatboy Slim era? Is it the Fatboy Slim? Is it Beats International Fatboy Slim? Or is it the House Martins Fatboy Slim?
Well, there's another story about the House Martins. I'll tell you in a bit. They're from Hull also. I guess I think the Big Beat Boutique stuff. I went down to that a couple of times, and it was pretty fucking wild.
So which era of Fatboy Slim? Which era of Fatboy Slim is that I've stated?
It's the sort of 2000s, you know.
So that's Fatboy
Slim
on
so that's
Records.
Fatboy Slim. Okay, so yeah. I suppose we're gonna have to see what Random has to say about this.
Who the fuck is this?
You know who it is. You've got my number saved. Don't act like that. Right, I've got a question for you. Now, Nick, DJ Buckwilde, has chosen his favourite Fatboy Slim as being the Fatboy Slim breakbeat era Fatboy Slim. But I asked him, what's the best Fatboy Slim era? Is it the Beats International Fatboy Slim? Is it the House Martins Fatboy Slim era? Or is it the one that Nick chose, the Fatboy Slim era, Dom?
I don't know. I don't fucking care.
Well, that went well.
That backfired.
Turns out he doesn't care about Fatboy Slim.
No, okay.
Well, a lot of people don't, to be honest, in our scene. Do you know what I mean? But
I think he's amazing.
I think he's amazing.
Could be the only time I disagree with Random.
It was kind of weird at the time. So, like I said, it was set up by an American guy, and he didn't fucking know who he was. Because he was a rock dude from America, and he was like, "What?" And we were like, "Yeah, he's kind of a big deal, Sean." Do you know what I mean? He's like, "Oh, right, okay." Yeah. So yeah, we do the gig. He gets really excited. We go back to his house for a party afterwards, and he's already saying, "I'm going to do this, and this for you guys." You know, he was talking about like producing our album, getting us on Skin, touring with us and shit like that night. Right. So yeah, so he says to us, book any venue you want in Brighton and I'll be your support act. Right. So we're an unsigned band at the time. We could have booked fucking anywhere. We could have booked the Brighton Centre or whatever. And we booked this pub that we've been doing gigs in called the King and Queen. And sure enough, he was the warm-up DJ for us. And he bought all the execs from Skint down, like my family came to that gig. Do you know what I mean? And it was absolutely rammed, the pub. And so we ended up doing that. And then over the next coming sort of few months, it was a bit like playing fucking Rockstar Simulator in like real life. Do you know what I mean? Because every week it'd be like, oh right, he wants to do this, and oh, he's going to do that. So within like a 4 or 5 month period, we were doing a UK tour with him, like, you know, like a proper tour. Here we go. There's a lanyard for that. Right. So it was kind of like,
yeah,
it was like the Palookaville album, right? I'm pretty sure you you don't really know much about that album.
I know about that album. Yeah,
that was the tour that we did. The album was a bit of a flop, but it actually won a Grammy apparently. So yeah, so
it was just quite. It was like a little bit different, and dance music is sort of
he had loads of guests. He had like
seat for a while.
He had like Bootsy Collins on it, and fucking David Osborne, and all these different collaborations. So the track that we were on was the one that was off the O2 advert. I don't know, you probably don't remember that. Anyway, so yeah, over that sort of few month period, and this is the sort of the great thing about being in a band is that you get to do like different sort of gigs than you would as you know. So before we did the UK tour, like we went and did like the Edinburgh Festival and went over to Prague and did the Prague Fringe Festival and all these kind of like different weird gigs that you wouldn't normally get as a DJ, right? So, you know, I'm along for the fucking ride, and he eventually, we get this tour, so it's going to be 3 weeks doing all the big university student unions. So, you know, like UAE and Leeds and Liverpool and fucking Manchester and all that lot. And it was a full-on tour. Like I said, we had a fucking tour bus and roadies, and you know, they bought their own fucking sound system everywhere they went that was in the back of this fucking articulated lorry. So
Rockstar
do you know
Simulation.
What I mean? It was full-on fucking Rockstar Simulator, right? So yeah, so we do the tour, and then we end up doing the last gig was kind of like Brixton Academy and stuff like that. But we also he joined the band, so he ended up playing bass with us. So the form, well, that's, I don't know. He had to have the notes written down on a piece of paper on the floor, but he decided that he wanted to be in the band. Yeah. So the format of the night would be, I'd be the warm-up DJ. We then would do the Johnny Quality set for like 45 minutes, and then he would come on for like the last few songs, and we do like a live version of like Funk Soul Brother and everything, and I'd be scratching Funk Soul Brother whilst they're doing it all live with guitars and shit. Yeah.
And what happened to the bassist that you were kicked out for Fatboy Slim to come and join?
Pete, yeah, he was relegated to the bongo, but he was also
right, mate. No. Fatboy Slim wants to play bass. You're on the bongo. What? It was Fatboy Slim. Yeah, but I don't play bongos. Well, you better be honest.
I know my place. I'd get straight on the bongos.
I wouldn't.
You could pull up a picture now. It's probably the Fatboy band practice one. Can you see that?
Yeah, I know where that is. Hang on one sec. It's this one here.
So you were talking about, you know, maybe going to Fatboy's house to record the thing for Lost Horizon. That we went and did band practice at Fatboy's house, like, you know, for about a week before we went on the tour. Like every.
Do you know what? It's quite a funny thing because you've got Fatboy Slim in Brighton and you've got Massive Attack in Bristol. Now, poor Massive Attack get quite a different experience living in Bristol because you see Grant knocking about quite a lot, and he just gets ignored. Basically, well, people in Bristol don't care about Massive Attack too much. It's just them.
But Norm's like that in Brighton. Like, you know, you can bump into him on the street and no one really, you know, they're not like, fucking hell, there's Fatboy Slim. It's like, you know. So anyway, we get this kind of like act together, if you like, and we did one of the songs off the album, which is called Wonderful Night, right? Which has got a rapper on it called Latif. We used to call him T.
Great tune, man.
So we ended up, Norm's manager is a guy called Gary Blackburn, and he's like a big hitter in music. He runs a plugin label and a management label in London called Anglo. So he came to see us do this practice at Norm's house, and within a week he booked us for Jonathan Ross, Pop World.
We had
TRL.
Such different experiences in bands. Sorry. We had like, it's literally night and fucking day. And I rehearsed in Massive Attack studio, by the way. So there are some quite similar things here with the Bristol Norman Cook and the Brighton Massive Attack. But totally different fucking story. Like mental.
You should have had a scratch DJ in a band, and maybe you'd have got picked up a bit more.
I did at one point. Yeah. People hated it.
So
mental. Right, come on.
there's the next. Let's have a look at the next slide, shall we? Right. So there's a picture of
getting quite annoyed by this conversation now.
The green room at Jonathan Ross.
Green room at Jonathan Ross. There we
go. There is Pete, the poor old lead singer, then bass player that got fucking relegated to playing the bongos. Yeah. But if you look to your left, right. So in that picture is Norman Cook, Pierce Brosnan, Gwen Stefani, and Peter Kay, right? So we go down to film Jonathan Ross on a Monday afternoon, yeah, and we're at the BBC, and we spend pretty much the whole afternoon sat in this fucking green room thing with all these people.
It was boring, wasn't it? Do you know what I mean? Those sorts of people are only good when they're on stage.
We weren't necessarily fucking talking to them because again,
no, they won't talk to you, because they're only good on stage, yeah. Absolute hell.
When you're in your band, you got your own crew anyway. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't even fucking matter. So like I said, we were still completely unsigned and unknown or whatever, and we were going through this like experience of doing all this fucking absolutely crazy shit. And then we went to New York and went on a TV show over there called the Conan O'Brien Show.
Yeah,
now
I know that.
People in England don't really know that very well. Like they know like David Letterman and but there was a guy back in, this is 2005, right? And Conan O'Brien had a fucking audience of 33 million every night. Yeah. So we do the thing. We go over to New York for fucking 3 days, stay over there, all expenses, per diems, fucking running around New York. Went to, Fatboy's restaurant that was in fucking Manhattan. And then we went and did this Conan O'Brien show. And then, we come back to England, and while we're in America.
Wait. So you were still unsigned at this point?
Yeah, completely.
You had zero. You don't have any record company backing at all. There was no promotion budget at all. You just literally ended up there with absolutely no end game at all.
We were just taken under his fucking wing, basically.
Really?
You know what I mean?
That is madness.
But here's the kicker. When we were in America, so we flew back after Conan O'Brien, but Norm stayed over to go and do some gigs on the West Coast.
Yeah.
And he had to go to rehab. It was fucking time. Like it really was. Like the rider that we had every night was kind of like a crate of beers for us and 3 bottles of vodka and 2 air horns. So Norm would come into the fucking dressing room, conference room thing that we were using, and he'd grab 2 of the bottles of vodka and the air horns, and then he was off. And so he was in a really, really bad way. And that kind of pretty much put a stop to everything, which is right, because, I think he probably would have died after a couple of years if he hadn't fucking done that at the time.
Did you end up finding out why he was being so nice with all of these things, or was he just drunk and he was like, I'm just going to bring him?
It might have been a sort of, I mean, in the end, I think his management team was sort of saying, no, this isn't a very good idea. Like we got a review when we played at the Brixton Academy saying for some reason Fatboy Slim brought out a pub band. And it was like, fuck. So yeah, I don't know. But there was another couple of things that happened like during that time. So he put me in touch, talking about the House Martins. He put me in touch with Paul Heaton to go and do a scratch session for the beautiful South.
Nice.
At this studio in London called Olympic Studios. So I went along to that. Now, I don't remember really getting paid very much during all this fucking time. Yeah. Even on the tour and stuff like that. I was getting 50 quid a night for being the warm-up DJ. I remember getting that.
Well, how much would you have had to pay to do that? I mean,
this is the thing.
In New York, isn't it?
Well, I know, but everyone's sort of attitude was like, you should be fucking grateful. And we were like, he fucking asked us to do it. Do you know what I mean? It was it's like, anyway. So I was getting this 50 quid for being for being the warm-up DJ to like 2,000 people. And on the second day of the tour, I got really bad fucking toothache, and I had to go to an emergency dentist to get a root canal in Sheffield. And they took the money that it cost to do that out of my DJ money. So I lost
Load of money.
I lost 300 quid on the second day of the fucking tour, and was anyway. So back to the beautiful South, right? So I go to Olympic Studios and I scratched on 5 of the tunes that these guys were doing, and Paul Heaton was there, and they paid me 100 quid per tune I was doing. That was great. And Paul Heaton was fucking sound as fuck, because we're both from Hull, so we were having like a proper chat about like Beverley Road or fucking this and that, and which pubs you go to. And the funny thing about him was he was really into fucking hip hop. Like, he was talking to me about like Ugly Duckling and People Under the Stairs and shit like that. And I'm like, it's fucking Paul Heaton. Like, he sings songs and shit like that. So anyway, I ended up also being on the Beautiful South album in 2005. For 9 seconds. they cut out every single bit of my scratching apart from this like little bit of like or something like that. But a lot of that being on TV and things like that. So my bit in It's a Wonderful Night was just this breakdown for like 4 bars where I just scratched. Yeah. So the rest of the time I'm stood there doing fuck all, and then it cuts to me and I start just doing a little scratch with fresh blah, 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 blah. So there was a couple of times where I sort of pinched myself a bit, and one of them was when we were setting up on Jonathan Ross before they started filming, and Norm was putting the bass guitar on, and I'm on the decks, and Jonathan Ross comes over, and he's like, "Who the fuck is this?" And he's saying to Norm like, "What's this? Who's this guy?" And Norm goes, "Oh, this is Nick. He's a scratch DJ." And he goes, "Nick, go on, show him." So I'm just like, and then the studio audience go, it's like fucking. It was so surreal. Having, Fatboy next to me, Jonathan Ross staring at me, and then an entire studio audience like give me a little clap after I did a little scratch and stuff. Mate, so yeah, there was lots of like weird little moments where it was just sort of pinch me stuff, and like I said, it came to a pretty abrupt ending, and we were just sort of dropped and forgotten about while Norm sorted himself out. And yeah, that was kind of that really.
Were you ever in touch with him afterwards when he sort of came
a little
back
bit?
To life?
I mean, a lot of the other people in the band, they sort of stayed friends with him, and they used to go and like watch football with him and stuff. Even, Sean, that American dude that didn't have a fucking clue who he was, like ended up being friends with him. I think because he didn't, he was like real to him. Do you know what I mean? Like, because he didn't know of his celebrity status or whatever. He was just like,
he was just a mate.
Yeah, and so, but I wasn't like that pally with him. But I've bumped into him every once in a while, and we always just talk about DJ shit. It's like, well, what have you been up to? And I'm like, oh, I've got this residency at Glastonbury in this bar, and he's like, oh, cool, yeah. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, well, I just went to Vegas and did this. Like, right, okay, yeah, slightly fucking, but yeah, it's just an interesting thing is that we're both DJs. And actually, when I was living with JFB, I went to see Norm to talk to him about some fucking stupid idea I had that I thought he might want to invest in, which was a karaoke system for your shower. But people who like to sing in the shower, right? And I'm like, yeah, you'll have this box on
Head
the wall
over to the Japanese market, mate.
Yeah, exactly. LED screen with the words on it, and then fucking MIDI thing. And he's like, Nick, he goes, out of all the things that I thought you were going to come and fucking talk to me about, it was like, this is like the last. He goes, I don't even like showers. You know what I mean? I have baths. I was like, mate, you're not the fucking target market for this thing. Anyway, and then he goes, I thought you were going to tell me about a new way of DJing or something. And I said, well, have you heard of Serato? He's like, no. And I said, I explained Serato to him, and he goes, oh yeah, actually, I was in this place in town the other day, and there was a guy looking at his laptop while he was DJing. I said, yeah, that's it. And I put him in touch with JFB, because JFB was like an early adopter of the Serato stuff, like the shit he was doing with Beardy Man at Battle Jam, where he was like sampling him and it was coming back through his computer. And do you know what I mean? He really got into it. So Norm fucking came round and had John Mark fucking show him how to use Serato. And then
can he actually cut though? Can Mr.
No,
cut?
Not really. No.
So it's wasted on him, really. Then.
Well, it kind of, he then became like the poster boy for fucking Serato. Do you know what I mean? But the other funny thing is, so the rain mixers had come out, right? And somehow we got hold of one that was a broken one that Norm had, and his like production team had put this big fucking like thing over all the buttons at the top that just said "No passera," as in don't fucking touch any of these things on the mixer because you might fuck everything up. So at the very beginning, he was just, it was funny because he's not a massively like technical, computer guy, to be honest. Like he's got a really good producer who he's worked with for years, called Simon Thornton, and he's kind of like the dude that Norm's the ideas guy, and the other dude sort of puts it through Ableton and makes it sound fucking brilliant. So that that's kind of like pretty much
that is a crazy story. Like, fair play to you, man. That's some exciting stuff to come out of it. Well,
this is it. Like every other day, it was like, we might be going on Top of the Pops, or we might be going on fucking Jules Holland, and that. It was just like, all right, just
let's put this aside then. Let's put this aside because I feel like you were just about getting into like real sort of battle lordship, like fucking in the trenches doing it. Like you got on the DVD, and then suddenly Mr. Magic plucks you out and sends you off around the world, and you get distracted, and you have this marvelous experience. But where's fucking Buckwilde gone?
It then, the whole Buckwilde name came from being in that band because it was an American fucking thing, and I was like, oh, I'll just call myself that. I don't really like DJ names, to be honest.
No, nor do I.
Okay, so then everything falls apart. So I think, and we probably all tend to do this, is when the shit hits the fan, you go back to what you know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
So and so it was okay, fine. I'm going to go. I knew people like JFB in Brighton and things like that, and so he was kind of like in the same sort of battle mentality as I was at the time. And so probably around like 2006, 2007 is when I started getting into the supremacy stuff. So there's actually that's one from 2001 that was at the Scar in London. That was a fucking crazy battle. That was the one where Scully did that routine where he starts juggling balls whilst he's beat juggling. And Plus One was in it.
I'm glad I've never seen that video. That would wind me up. I'm glad I've never seen that. That would piss me off.
Watch it. It's a really good fun.
The only one that's allowed to have props in my world is DJ XL Hugh Wackman. He's the only one. Like juggling balls and watching that. You missed what I think's the magical era of turntablism, and that is when Quest won the UK. And you've never seen Quest video until I spoke about it at the Scratch Cap. And that era between sort of 2003 and 2006 was the pinnacle.
Well, the weird thing is, I also completely missed out on like the whole C2C thing. And considering I was interested in like teams and stuff like I said, I was totally focused on something else at the time. Do you know what I mean? And I just sort of kind of lost touch with what was going on. But then, like I said, I picked it up again and was in, I was in 2006, 2007, 2008. I was some sort of finalist. And also it was quite funny. So I've got some lanyards that, so if I wanted to get a ticket to go and watch the World Finals, I would get in touch with Sally. Right? Have you heard about Sally? You might not know about her. She retired from. She was like the organizer of all of the DMC regionals and the competition for years and years and years. She was like the queen of turntablism, Sally McClintock, right? So her and Swifty were the kind of like main people that would do all the organizing of it. And I'd ring her up and be like, can I get like a photo pass to go and watch the World Finals in London and shit like that. So I've got all these kind of like press passes as well that would get me into the World Finals. So
nice way of doing it.
That was a really good way of getting a ticket. Like sometimes I'd ring her on the day and just be like, "Can you put me on the list?" And she'd be like, "Yeah, sure." So yes, I did. I did sort of miss that 2003, 2005 era. But then, like I said, I came back with a bit of a vengeance and started doing supremacy, which is probably a good time to talk about dissing Switch, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
Remember me saying that I was always going up against Switch. So
So the worst person to always be going up against as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, if you could pick a handful of people, who don't you want to go up against? He's pretty much on every one, isn't he? Let's face it.
Yeah. So and that I was listening to that conversation you were having the other day with Luke about dissing and stuff like that, and it reminded me of that. So here's the scenario. Yeah, we're in the Supremacy quarterfinals. He's just done. I've done my first 90 seconds. He does his first 90 seconds, and he ends it by saying, "Go fuck your sister," which is kind of weird because I've actually got a sister, and I was just like, "Whoa, fucking easy, dude." But I'd always,
it's just a competition.
Yeah, I mean,
whoa, need to get personal.
It's quite a weird one, that one, isn't it? Actually,
it is a weird one.
Do you know what I mean?
Telling me to go American, and fuck my sister.
Yeah, the standard American "go fuck your mother." You're kind of used to that. It's desensitized to it, isn't it? But you're getting told to fuck your sister, so be like, "Oh, I don't like that."
Anyway. And I'll try and set this up. So you might want to pull up the clip now, right?
Here we go.
I'll just introduce the sort of scenario. So that year, England were in the Euro finals, and around the same time the DMCs won, that they were about to be in like the fucking semi-final or something like that. And so I had an idea to make a routine that was this kind of like a bit sort of England centric, which you'll hear in a second, but also dissing the fuck out of Switch, right? So if you play the video, have a
series on this, by the way. All of the disses.
Are we ready to roll the clip?
We're ready. I
roll VT.
Said play it, yeah.
Right.
Roll
quiet
VT.
you. Quiet you.
That cancel hasn't worn out, by the way. You know.
Okay. 90 seconds. Go on, son. Buckwilde!
I gotta listen to people because of your fucking shit? You're ordering me out? You better get your own fucking army, pal. Your fucking warrant don't ever go over my fucking head again. You motherfucker, you.
That was just hilarious.
Was that the Craze scratch record? The Craze Beats record?
Yeah,
the orange one? Yeah, I've got that. I've got that. I need to get another one of those.
I love it, mate.
If you notice as well, I do this technique that everyone used to do before, where you have two records on the same turntable, so it saves time. So if you're not going to be juggling and shit like that, you can be playing one over that, and then once you finish that record, you take it off, and that one's straight there. Do you know what I mean?
That's what I used to do when I used to DJ vinyl and do juggles and stuff back in the day before Serato. I used to have them stacked on top, make it easier.
I mean, the vinyl sort of days was like you're just fucking chucking them everywhere. They got fucking stickers all over them that go straight to the bit.
I'm still there.
Well, when you've got a certain amount of time, like I was explaining with at the Scratch Cafe the other day, it's like beat juggling is an exercise in saving time, and and anything you can do to save yourself a few seconds, it all sort of counts. Whereas nowadays it doesn't really matter because you can just press the button and you're queued up anyway.
Do you know what? That's actually the saving time and cutting fat from movements is actually what I love the most about it. I've come to realize that recently. It's a practice in efficiency. And I absolutely love efficiency. There's something about efficiency that just
you're almost completely ignoring the record that's playing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, literally. It's like the music just disappears, and then suddenly it's like, oh, there's a little bit too much fat going from there to there. How can I speed that up? How can I get there quicker? How can I get the record back just a little bit faster? How much time do I have to buy myself to be? Yeah, it's a beautiful dance.
Have you watched that demo that I did yet, Ollie?
Oh, what? Have we got the 360 footage yet?
I have got it. I haven't been able to edit it yet.
Dan's been so busy. I haven't been hassling him for anything, so I'm just waiting to be presented it.
So one of the techniques that I said in the demo is to use your forearm on the crossfader. Yeah, so you cross your arms over, or use your mouth. You know what I mean? And those.
I don't like stuff like that. I like
the arm one. I've been doing that. I've been trying to get myself so I can move from 8/4/2 to 1. It's cool once you're in the swing of it. It's wicked.
I like the idea of it, but the fact that it looks like a body trick, it's just like it's a gateway juggling.
I love
trying to scratch. Do you know what I mean?
I just think body tricks are great.
The whole point of that demo was to say, I posed the question, like, are body tricks showing off, or do they actually save time? Yeah, some of them are showing off.
Yeah, you brought me in now. You brought me in now.
Are time savings as well.
Yeah, you can't.
If you're fucking spinning around and shit, then yeah.
Unless you're A-track, you can't do that at that speed. You can't get down to that.
There's a finite amount of time from your hand being on the record to the crossfader, and that's a waste of time.
It's not possible to do type. Whereas if you do that, you can literally go like double that speed. Yeah,
I'm going to be clear. I do enjoy watching a body trick. I enjoy watching body tricks, but I don't ever. Can't.
Just you wait.
I just don't want to do
them. It is time, and he'll be there.
He'll learn. You watch Ollie on the decks, and he's fucking. You're already like fucking jumping around.
You're one big body trick anyway.
Yeah, just maybe I don't like him then. Yeah,
you're a Jedi mind body trick.
Stop me doing my natural body tricks.
Jedi body trick.
Yeah. All right. So, kind of at that time in the sort of like late 2000s, I started this sort of new project with my mate who was a violinist. He lives in Bristol now, actually, and we did this thing called Phygital. Yeah. So I'd be beat juggling, and he was playing a violin with a loop pedal, and so we'd do like classic fucking hip hop tunes and that, and you know what I mean, because you can play fucking anything on a violin, like any melody.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So we'd do like I don't know, You Can't Touch This mixed with fucking Salt and Pepper mixed with some, you know what I mean, all these different things, and I'd be doing the beats, or we'd do fucking Knight Rider and shit like that. Yeah. So we ended up kind of like coming up with this little show that we ended up like touring for like four years or something, which culminated in the Britain's Got Talent thing. Which
that must have been great fun. Well, you were on Britain's Got Talent.
Yeah.
Fuck off, really? Have we got a clip?
I haven't. No. There's no fucking video evidence of that at all.
Really?
Fuck.
And what have you buried it, or is this just...
No, we just didn't make it, and we fucked everything up. It was So anyway, we were doing this Phygital thing, and we were touring around places like Romania and Slovenia, and doing a lot of festivals as well. So we had a big run of that, and then we stopped doing that. And 2 years after we'd finished, I get an email from one of the researchers from Britain's Got Talent saying, we want you to come on the show. Like, they headhunt people. Yeah, it's a big fucking.
So you didn't have to queue then, basically.
No. we didn't have to do. We went straight to the fucking thing where there's Simon Cowell sat there.
It's all wind up stuff, though, isn't it? They deliberately wind a load of stuff up and ruin a load of stuff for TV.
If you think the DMC competition is nerve wracking, right? Try fucking Britain's Got Talent. Like the entire event is to ramp up the pressure and the nervousness that you feel, right? So anyway, we haven't done a gig for 2 fucking years, yeah. And they called me. I was in Australia at the time, and I said, "Look, I'm going to be back in February, so we could maybe do the February one." So I fucking call Mike up, and I'm like, "Look, Mike," because it was really weird. Like when we did gigs, a lot of people would come up to us going, "You two should go on Britain's Got Talent, right?" And it was always this kind of like this thing. And I said, "Mike, you're not going to fucking believe this, but I've been sent an email saying if we want to go on Britain's Got Talent, we can, right?" And if you know Mike, he's quite a sort of, I mean, you know, he's a a violin playing rapper from Wales. Yeah, he doesn't get more morose than that. Yeah, he's essentially a poet who plays violin. Anyway, you might have seen him in Bristol. I don't know. He's called Mike Dennis. He does his own like shows now. And
it rings a bell, that name.
I'm pretty sure I know who he is. Yeah,
he wears like a stripy t-shirt and So I say, Mike, we've got a chance to go on Britain's Got Talent. And he's like, "Oh, I'm not sure about that."
Oh, well, I don't know about that. That's the worst Welsh accent ever.
He hasn't got a Welsh accent. Oh, I don't know about that, boy. Oh, I don't want to go on that Britain's Got Talent. So
Britain's got what?
I eventually persuade him that, look, I can come to his place in Bristol. We can practice for one night. And then go to fucking Birmingham the next day to do Britain's Got Talent, right? So anyway, I go to Bristol, and our set was we completely knew it like off by heart. We do like versions of like Billie Jean, the Stone Roses, and all this kind of shit. Anyway, we decide that we're going to come up with a completely new version of Billie Jean, right? Instead of all the stuff that we know completely fucking back to front. So anyway, we go up to Birmingham, and we sound check at 9 o'clock in the morning, and then what they do is they put you in a room called the holding cell, and it's essentially this big conference room with all of the other people who are on Britain's Got Talent in it. Yeah, so you have to go and wait there. You're not allowed to just fuck off and do whatever you want and come back when they call you. So you're in this room with like a load of like, I don't know, a boy band or a load of dancers. There was some fucking dogs that had been like had their hair cut to look like giraffes and lions and shit like that. This room was fucking absolutely mental. And they come up and they mic you up every once in a while, and we're like, so what do you want us to talk about? And the producer literally said, talk about how nervous you are. Yeah. So you're in this room. Everyone's a bit, and you're sort of thinking in the back of your head, you're like, what if we fucking win this shit? Do you know what I mean? So you've got this kind of like weird sort of thing going on. Anyway, we're in this room from 9 o'clock in the morning until 9 in the evening. Right?
Shit, I would have been kicking stuff over and storming out by after 2 hours, I think.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
That. No.
And I hadn't actually seen Britain's Got Talent. I didn't realize that they had the buzzer thing.
Yeah.
So we end up sort of waiting backstage, and we're about to go on, and then suddenly hear this like, I was like, what the fucking hell's that? And it's like, oh right, so they buzz you off, and then they kind of like tell you how shit you are, and we're like, oh fucking hell, what are we doing? But by then it's a bit too late, and we it was the whole fucking shebang. So we got interviewed by Ant and Dec just before we went on. They were like, oh, Phygital here. They were so chipper, it was fucking unbelievable, right? So and Ant and Dex give us a little fucking chat or whatever. We go on the stage, and Simon Cowell's like, all right, fucking tell us about yourselves. And poor old Mike, he's like front and center. I'm sort of a bit behind him on the decks, and he has to explain sort of stuff to them. Anyway, he goes, oh, we used to be in a funk band, and then we decided to do this. And they're like, all right. And then they go, right, go on, then off you go. And Mike does this thing. He starts fiddling with his loop pedal for like 30 seconds. It felt like fucking forever. I'm like thinking, Jesus Christ. And Simon Cowell and everyone's like looking around like, this is fucking bullshit. And we start this Billie Jean thing, and immediately his loop goes out of time, right?
Oh,
and
no.
And I'm just like, fuck. And I'm shouting at Mike because there's a beat juggling bit that I was going to do that was like a phase or whatever. I'm like, Mike, just get to the fucking beat juggling bit. Get to the beat juggling bit. And then we just hear, and then like, and then that was that, and we stop, and then you have to stand there. And Simon Cowell goes, I've seen this kind of act thousands of times. He goes, and we're like, I don't think so. There's only 2 people in the world doing it. And he goes, you guys weren't even in time. And then he goes to Alicia Dixon, Unleash Your Dixon. And she goes, oh, today wasn't your day, boys, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then Amanda Holden, and then David Walliams goes, unlucky lads. He goes, keep fiddling. And everybody fucking pisses themselves in the audience. And me and Mike walk off, right? And for about half an hour, I hadn't seen Mike and I hadn't spoken to him or anything. I was packing away kit and stuff. And they come up to us and they're like, right, we want you to walk down that corridor, like this kind of like walk of shame thing. And I'm with Mike and we haven't spoken yet. And we're walking down this corridor while they shoot us from behind. And I turned to him while we're walking. I'm like, well, that went well, didn't it? We're just like fucking.
Wait there, wait, whoa. Wait there. Right. So basically, you got paid. You got made to stay in a fucking room for 14 hours. They treat you like shit. They don't give you a second chance. And then they ask you to do a walk of shame and you go, yeah, right. Fuck, yeah. I'm not made for that. There would have been if somebody did that to me and then no, you got to do a walk of shame now. We're filming you for back. I would have gone, mate. You want to walk away from me down, or I'm fucking rolling you down that fucking road.
We came off the stage and we came off the stage and Ant and Deck just completely ignored us. It was, oh god. So that was the Britain Got Talent thing, and Mike sort of like contacted him the next day, going, "Don't put any of that fucking shit on TV." Like they were going to anyway. Like it was fucking bullshit. So I've actually got I've got my Britain's Got Talent thing there, and I was number.
You got a lanyard?
No, I haven't got a lanyard. I've got a sticker thing.
You got a sticker. It gets even worse. Man, that is just a practice in how shitty humanity can be, isn't it?
Those things are, mate. They're awful.
There we go, right? So I'm number 27,509. If that makes you feel special.
Why did they put a number on there? Sorry, so not only did they do all of that, they then removed your name and gave you a number.
That a bit like a fucking marathon or something.
Literally, you know what I know you're a number now, mate. You're a shit and you're a number. Let us film
27,509. It's so humiliating. It was one of the things that I'm sort of glad that we did it, but not really as well.
I mean,
because we've done, it really is fucking brutal. And, the poor fucking people who go on it, do you know what I mean? Thinking that they're going to do well or whatever. Because like I said, the winners, they're all handpicked anyways. And
I know quite a few people who've been on X Factor and stuff like that. And they've been properly set up in the background, like to have fights with like Cheryl Cole. To have like issue, and it's so much of it is like deliberately designed to screw people over for good television. It's just like totally and utterly unacceptable in my opinion.
Well, people queue up for hours for this. No, I said you queue up for 5 hours, then go in a waiting room for 14 hours.
Yeah, like people are desperate for fame and stuff, so they go and do it, and they and a lot of it, like you said, you were headhunted, so there's almost this like
they want us to do it.
They want people to feel like, oh, we've brought you into this process because we think you can win it.
Good.
We want you. And really, what they want is...
I think they did.
We want to... Yeah, no,
I think they did think he was good. Yeah, and then they fucked it up.
But they like to bring...
But
it's that whole thing of
what could have been.
You feel like... No, it's awful, mate. I mean, it's just like, why treat the artists like that? Like
that same year, Random and his crew were approached and asked to go on it as well.
I'm going to fucking call him about this later. I would love to know what he said to that.
No, exactly. So they didn't go on it. That's for sure.
No. Can you imagine trying to keep Random in a green room for fucking 14 hours?
Oh, and miking him up,
than
for
me.
Fuck's sake.
He literally throttled Simon Cowell. He would.
Good money for
that. Yeah.
So that's another crazy experience, Nick. Blimey.
Yeah. And then my sort of like just sort of wrapping stories up a little bit here is I kind of a couple of years ago I got an S9. Because I'd got some money. I got some money from this fucking project. I thought, fuck it, I'm going to spend $1,500 on a mixer. Fuck it, because my Rain 62 had suddenly become fucking obsolete for some reason. Because
that's shit. Yeah.
Oh. Anyway, and then I thought, well, I could probably enter DMC again now. So in 2003, it was the year that it was at Boomtown. And
this has come up a lot in these podcasts.
That 2023 was it? Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And so
that was one. Revert came second.
XL1. Michael, Hugh Wackman.
Yeah, Michael was in there. Yeah.
All that shit.
I remember.
So,
Michael was second and Revert was third. I remember.
That's it. Yeah. And Rasp was in it, and X-Ray Ted. I think he's from down your way.
Yeah, Andreas.
A few others, and so Yeah, that was like one of the best DMC experiences, to be honest, because it was at the festival. And usually you go to a pokey nightclub in London and everyone's sort of sat in this fucking tiny room in the back being a bit moody and nervous. Whereas, you know, we were all at Boomtown. We'd got there the night before and everyone had met each other. And people like Revert and that, they were already doing sort of like 6 or 7 gigs at fucking Boomtown. And, you know,
yeah, of course they were. Yeah.
Another fucking thing that we're doing, right? So it was a really sort of strange one. And, you know, DJ Craze was a fucking judge. Prime Cuts and Switch was one of the judges as well.
It's a bit difficult for you. I'm starting to get this impression that
there's about my fucking sister.
You know, I think like Switch is
you should have introduced him to your sister.
He wouldn't stand a chance for my sister. She was in the fucking army, right? She'd have kicked the fuck out of him. So, so
what do you say about my brother?
She could kill a man with her little finger. Do you know what I mean? So,
I'm not going past that one. Your sister's had enough abuse from your DJ crew. We're leaving that one there.
So I'm on first, as always seems to be the fucking case. But I'm actually in a UK final. You know, like a straight up UK final, because they were kind of desperate that year. There wasn't a lot. There was no regionals. There was no nothing. It was a fucking 2-minute video, and then they were like, "Yeah, come, you know, you're in." So free tickets for fucking Boomtown, yeah. So I go with my mate. We get there on the Thursday. DMC's on the Friday. Fucking DJ Craze is sat right there, staring at me with a fucking clipboard, judging me. And then behind him, there's JFB like, "Hey!" like this. He's also one of the judges.
Hello, mate.
Crazy JFB as judges. I mean, that is savage.
Yeah, well, Prime Cuts. If you see the video online of it, there was no fucking video from that year. I was gutted.
No,
didn't even get on that DVD. Prime Cuts is just like not even looking at me. He's just fucking staring into the crowd while I'm doing my fucking set and everything. But that set was really interesting because I sort of tweaked it for Boomtown. So I had a lot of drum and bass in there, basically. So I did things like I'd drop a sample, you know, that got any jungle guy, and then do that tune from fucking Human Traffic, and then I did this
Aphrodite tune,
Stalker.
Yeah, I did this fucking mad juggle with Amy Winehouse, and then I got a diss in at the end, for Michael. Because I knew he was going to be in it. And I knew he was one of the favourites. I didn't know that XL was going to be in it.
I wish you would have like dissed some Switch again. That'd have been the best.
Just one of the
I'm trying to get Dan to diss the judges in his routine this year.
Yeah, fucking do it, man. That'll be brilliant.
I'm that close to talking him into dissing the judges on his routine.
So
I'm going to do it. There's going to be a judge diss.
He's going to sneak in and change my digital files.
You know me saying I'm not from a b-boy background, so I don't have that sort of attitude. I'm more of I just want to get through my fucking set clean, and I'm not ain't going to be fucking looking at nobody or having attitude and stuff like that. So so I do this diss of Michael. So I took an Edan tune, which is I don't smoke crack, I smoke MCs, right? Yeah. And so I grabbed the I don't smoke crack, I smoke Mike L like this. It was fucking pointing behind me and everything. Anyway, Mike L he's in the back room. He's the only one who's kind of like fully focused on the shit. He's not there to have a good time at Boomtown. He's like fucking bruh. And I go off and I said, "Oh, I just dissed you." He goes, "Oh, did you?" He was like, "What did you do?"
Good.
I explained the fucking diss to him. He was like, "Oh, nice one."
So I got diss, mate. Yeah, fair play. Yeah.
And then
the same with having to explain a joke.
Well, if you've got to explain the diss to the person, then you haven't dissed them very well, is it? So that weekend was fucking brilliant because we had artist wristbands. I spent the rest of the time just going around like fucking nicking people's riders and just hanging out with John Mark and all that.
Do you realise how hard these poor people have to work for their riders that aren't you? Like you have to deep Boomtown. You've got a DJ for the ticket, but not only have you got a DJ, you've got a DJ 25 times for that ticket. You're probably taking some really poor, like really thirsty DJ. You just run 3 miles from the fucking opening one stage to opening another.
The funny thing is, so I took my mate with me, and it was his job to keep me sober before I did my set, because it was weird. Like back in the day, you practice for fucking 5 months, and then we'd go to the DMC like it was some sort of fucking night out, and and have beers. So you get to your nighttime set, and you've had like 7 or 8 pints, and you're thinking, oh, I wonder why I didn't do very well. So anyway, I was completely. We got to the backstage area of Boomtown, and this woman said, "Oh, there's drinks in there. Just take whatever you want," like this. And I'm looking at my mate like, "Fuck sake!" The fridge is like full of beers, and there's fucking spirits everywhere and all this shit. And I'm like, ugh. Anyway, I stayed sober for that, but then I did rob a load of the beers afterwards to take around the festival with me from the backstage area from there. And yeah, then saw Cypress Hill played on the Sunday night, like did the whole Black Sunday album. It was fucking absolutely sick. And I'd always wanted to really sort of go to see Boomtown, because I've worked at festivals for years, and I'm really interested in like production and shit like that.
Yeah.
So as a sort of a festival geek, like it doesn't get much better than
Boomtown.
Really.
Send it, don't they, on the production?
Oh, it's
they
unreal.
Absolutely send it.
And it's almost like a little microcosm of like the southeast corner of Glastonbury. Robin's bit, the naughty bit, but it's the entire fucking place. So really, really good experience. Like I said, that was the sort of best DMC thing that I've been to, I reckon. But still got the nerves and everything. It's so weird how it physiologically like affects you. Like you don't feel nervous, but your hands are shaking, right? Or your hands feel like they're like swelling up or something like that, and it feels like you're fucking beat juggling a treacle or something. It's really weird.
And like it feels like your records are slipping out of your hand. The one last year, there was this like giant like LED wall behind me
that wasn't being used for anything good.
That must literally like. I felt like fucking Steve's hot lava chicken. I was like,
Steve's hot lava chicken.
Hey, that's for all the young watchers out there.
What the hell's that?
From Minecraft.
Is it?
Yeah.
You just did a Minecraft.
Oh, the movie. Yeah. There's some.
Right, mate, got to drop a Minecraft
joke. Oh god.
Yeah. So your hands are sweaty as fuck. You're shaking. Like all the bits that you need to do your job just feel like they're not working properly. Do you know what I mean?
Like spaghetti arms. Like
and sort of John Mark gave me a little tip. He goes, look, before you go on, like wipe the actual platter with like a towel or something, because it's going to have condensation on it, because we're out in the middle of a field, right? And stuff like that. And it still just felt a bit weird. And yeah, at least you don't get as much needle skipping nowadays as you used to. But it was
that's true.
Like I said, I was just happy to fucking be there. And as soon as I got there and I saw XL was in it, I was like, "That's it. He's winning for sure."
Yeah.
And it was weird because
No, we had a bit of a win for our good friend Maya, DJ XL Hugh Wackman. So the DMC guys have been running a podcast as well, and it's the American guys hosting it. I don't know who's hosting it. I don't know anybody's name, but they posted a clip crediting Mr. Wackman with the twiddle.
Really?
They did.
I saw that the other day.
Yeah, they credit him with the because they were talking about the OGs that have come back and still competing, and they did a whole bit on Maya, which was absolutely amazing.
I need to see that.
Yeah, they went. He invented the twiddle.
Because he went over to Japan and showed Cuba and that. Do you know what I mean? So they know that the truth. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I don't think it's. I think the British people have been going, no, he's the guy, he's our guy, he did it, and the Americans are like, no, man, it's Cuba. As they speak, blah blah blah. But I think the Americans are starting to get on board.
Yeah. And the weird thing is, so my first proper DMC was in '98. And that was the last time that fucking XL had entered it.
Yeah.
Really? Until 2023. It was just like, fuck me, man.
Yeah.
So, he'd had like a 20-odd year fucking hiatus.
Yeah. And he came back with a bit of style. It was fun, man. And last year, his Battle for Supremacy stuff was just gold as well.
Yeah, I've not seen. Is there videos in that for that?
There's one we can dig out for you. I'll send you one.
I've got video as well.
He wears like masks and shit, doesn't he?
Yeah. Oh, it was mental. It was
totally.
See, again, he's got the B-boy mentality, right?
He does.
I think, like I said, I think there's two different types of sort of the battlers, really. And it's the randoms and the XLs, the fast T's who are sort of old school B-boys. versus someone like, I don't know, me or Reverb, or you know what I mean. It's a slightly different sort of thing. I don't feel comfortable being all kind of like, you know, pointing and fucking doing all this shit. It's just not in my nature.
No,
I just want to get my head down and get it fucking done.
Yeah.
So
I
you know.
kind of know what you mean there, mate.
Yeah.
It's so funny as well because like it inside your mind is total chaos. I've watched my DMC routine performance back a few times, and I look so unbelievably calm. And I'm like, what is going on in my head?
Yeah.
My head is like, you know, like.
But you go back to what you know. You've practiced it so fucking much that you're just like, let me just pull this. I'll tell you one thing that was quite interesting. So I don't tend to do a lot of practice when I'm actually at the so there's decks in the back and you're able to like go through your routine and all this kind of shit. I never really did that.
No,
so I'd got I'd got to Boomtown and I hadn't actually been on the decks for like a day or so when I got into the final, and I'd been up all night anyway, and you know what I mean, and but I was going to say what JFB used to do, which I found quite interesting, was he would record his set and on the way up to London or whatever he was just listening to it on repeat. Then when he got to like the UK finals or whatever, he would spend probably an hour and a half on those fucking practice tables in the back. Do you know what I mean? Even though he's, you know, it seems like he must know it fucking back to front. But I think that was a really interesting sort of technique of just sort of getting in the zone, get that fucking 6 minutes done.
What is your favorite all-time DMC set? Your go-to?
Yeah. So it's easy one. This. So the 1998 US Finals DJ Craze set. He in '97 he had a problem in the US Finals. Like there was some fuck up with his needles skipping and everything. So in '98.
Was that when he was using the Craze Stanton 500s?
Well, actually, apparently it was the DJ before's fault. Like he turned the tone arm like right up to the fucking top or something like that, and it was fucking him up. Anyway, so the next year in '98, he came back.
Definitely wasn't the Stanton 500s then. It definitely was the Stanton 500s, even though they got Craze written on. They're still Stanton 500s. Anyway, sorry.
So Craze '98 US final, not the world final. His US final one to get into the worlds. It's got fucking everything. He's absolutely flawless. Also, you know, I like when Cuba and Mixmaster Mike were in it for the Dream Team thing, where there's only two of them. That was fucking amazing as well. So yeah, they're my go-tos. Like the whole sort of US final in '98 is an absolute classic. You know, it's got Total Eclipse is fucking sick on it.
What makes a good routine to you? What really makes a routine stand out?
It's a bit of everything, isn't it? So you want to have flow, you want to have a bit of funk to it. So for instance, you know, Craze was like using these vocals off what's his name, the MC from Digging in the Crates, Finesse, Lord Finesse. Yeah. So Lord Finesse, he's got like these fucking he's doing these vocal things about like, you know, I'm back this year and I'm kicking ass this year and all this shit. And actually, Lord Finesse was like the MC for the night as well. So it worked really well. And apparently Craze didn't know that he was going to be the MC for the night. So the MC that introduces him, he's fucking using him in the very beginning of the routine and stuff like that. And, you know, and then he's totally ambidextrous. Yeah. So he can do everything with both hands. Yeah. And at the time, there was a lot of kind of like, you know, so that they had to, you know, use both sides like all the time, and he's fucking crossing over his arms and he's fucking doing all sorts of shit. And you know, it was just the sickest fucking routine. Couple of songs that you knew. There was one that he turned up into like drum and bass at the end, and this is like 1998 in America, for fuck's sake. I know he's like for drum and bass now, but
so do you know? So a friend of ours, a friend of the Scratch Cap, DJ Daisy, Roughneck Ting. She was over there with Nicky and all of the drum and bass guys from the UK. And what was happening over there is the drum and bass guys would be touring drum and bass over there. And the drum and bass room used to be the second room to the hip hop rooms,
which is hilarious.
Which is
over here.
Other way around. So then the Americans would come over and tour, and they'd see our guys in the main rooms.
Yeah.
So then like this weird like relationship happened between the UK drum and bass guys and the American hip hop guys. And at that point, Craze heard drum and bass, and it's because of Daisy.
Well, they're mates, aren't they, Daisy?
They're good mates, yeah, Daisy and Craze. And well, because Daisy came to a scratch club, we're going to be doing something at one of her sets for Fight Club, I think, in the summer. And she was like, "Oh, Craze is a good friend of mine." I was like, "What?" Like, displaying the whole thing, and that. So basically, I think Craze plays drum and bass because of our Bristol drum and bass scene, which is like pretty. It's another one of those amazing links.
It sort of suits him because he's from Miami, and there's this kind of like booty bass scene over there,
Miami
or something.
Bass scene over
but
there.
I mean, you know, my favorite type of music is fucking jungle. There's no two ways about it. Like, it's the most fun. It's the best to fucking listen to on a big sound system.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I love not taking music too fucking seriously.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm happy with just a fucking sub bass that's just like, you know, and jungle.
What's your favorite era of the drum and bass jungle?
I like the stuff that's going on now.
Really?
Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
What? Yeah. So are you into the alien jump up stuff? Are you into the Bristol Natty Rollers? Come on, let's really get it down.
The other day I've started listening to a lot of the Pete Cannon sort of like new hardcore stuff, but also he's got this fucking guy on his label. I think it's called L Slip or something like that, and he's got this tune which it's called Scammer.
Yeah.
He's a scammer. And it's just fucking got this unbelievable fucking break, like drop. And, you know, I just love shit like that. Like, you know, in my car, I didn't show you when I was in Bristol, but I've got this fucking massive 12-inch sub bass in my boot. And it's so much fun driving down the motorway just with like shy effects on or something. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, you know,
so you would pick the new school jungle over the old school jungle. Then?
I mean, you know, I don't mind a bit of Ronnie Size and circles and everything, but yeah, I kind of like stuff that I don't know that well. Do you know what I mean?
Really,
Pete Cannon's making all his N4 records on an Atari with Optimed.
Yeah, I mean, he runs an S5000, doesn't he?
It's definitely not like new school stuff at all. It's like
so it's got a
retro,
nod
you know?
to the retro stuff. And
if you were to play that after, let's say, Yes Yes by Ray Keith, you wouldn't ever put those two.
The production quality would be a lot higher.
You know,
now,
the sort of gigs I do nowadays, dude, is like weddings and fucking pub gigs on New Year's Eve. Like, I don't get to play a lot of that sort of shit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you have to play this newer style then.
No. I that's what I like listening to.
Okay.
Yeah. So actually, at the moment, it's weird. I'm doing this like weekly radio show on this like internet radio called Alpha Wave Radio.
Nice.
And I've been branching off into like I do 15-minute sets, so it's only little things, but I theme them all. Yeah. So I did like you know, hip hop classics, scratch music classics. And then I was doing like Hacienda classics, the Renaissance classics,
really,
and Wigan Casino. You know? and every week I'm like picking this like fucking genre.
Like
so this week I'm on it tonight, and I'm doing it's French hip hop. Do you know what I mean? And it's all like Hocus Pocus and fucking, you know, C2C and all them lot. So I really enjoy this kind of like being forced to come up with a set every week.
Do a Bristol drum and bass one. And links for the Bristol drum and bass. I got some links
this is why I was listening to the Pete Cannon stuff, because I was going to do like a new hardcore one, but it's a bit too leery for like the Wednesday night show.
Yeah,
but,
I've just heard his bootleg of Breathe. It's like, oh my god!
What, the Prodigy tune?
Yeah, it's an absolute belter.
I think he's in Bristol this weekend. Actually, he's playing for my mates at Vinyl Destination this Saturday. But there's no point even talking about it now, because it would have been another month until this comes.
Yeah. So one of the things that I was going to mention, remember we were talking about that making a sort of branded scratch looper for the Scratch Cafe.
Yeah.
So I've got the prototype working and all that lot, and now it's just a case of getting loops. Yeah. So I've been talking to Ollie and sort of saying, can we get people like Parker and Pete Cannon and, you know, Jimmy Needles to submit, you know, just loops.
Parker's currently in prison. So I'll be awaiting a call from him. Yeah, the poor bastard. Yeah, he got caught up in some things, but that's why I've got the massive dog. So, but I speak to him quite regularly, and I'm sure he can. Jim will definitely do it.
Jim will. we can definitely get hold of a load.
So I think 10 or 20 loops.
We have some beat makers who come down who like run a kind of almost a sister night to us to some extent.
Yeah.
Okay.
They come down. They've got loads of stuff, so we got tons of material for that, man.
Because that'll make it a bit more of like your thing. Do you know what I mean? Instead of a generic scratch looper.
Yeah.
And it's the kind of thing. About 10 years ago, I sort of pivoted into sort of technology and like AR and VR stuff.
It's cool,
and so
man. I mean,
I kind of learned a piece of software called Unity, which is what you make video games with, and that's how I ended up teaching games development for like 6 years. That was the other thing I was going to talk about. Is turntablists make fucking good teachers. It's really weird. Like I don't know what it is. It's something about sharing the knowledge that we've got with each other that about the scratching or whatever. It kind of puts us in good stead for. If you get good at anything, you can talk about it. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what I think it is? I think it's about being able to break something complicated down into smaller chunks. Like, because the thing with the turntablist stuff is like, a lot of it is about how do I get from A to B? Like, well, this is the goal, this is the gap. And then how do I turn that into small things? And I think anyone who can do that can kind of explain stuff to people in a way that they're like, oh yeah. Oh,
but also you've got this feeling that you don't want them to have to go through the 2 years it took you to learn something. Yeah.
So
if you can say to somebody, well, actually what you do is this and this, and they can pick it up in a month, and it's saved them fucking 2 years. Do you know what I mean?
It's really interesting actually, because we tend to go, like you just said, it took me 2 years to get there, but I know something now I can give somebody else to get them there in 6 months. Yeah. Whereas you find everybody out, or most people outside of this environment, they're like, oh, how dare he do that in 6 months? It took me 2 years. And they just guard their knowledge. It's really odd, isn't it?
Well, you should see what it's like in the games development world. Like developers, like the kind of autistic sort of nerd developers, they feel like they hold the knowledge, and the knowledge is the power. And so and they would never be able to fucking teach anyone anyway because they're so autistic. And do you know what I mean? So there's a weird thing about, well, obviously now like ChatGPT is fucking them up completely. But they were kind of like, I wasn't paying fucking £400 a day for being a developer, and I know how to code. And
I think that's more developers, because there's a lot of autistic people that scratch, and they're just like, oh, like, do you know what I mean? They just want to give. I think it's more to do with the environment that we are in.
Yeah, I only mentioned the autism because that kind of goes hand in hand with the game development sort of people.
Yeah, well, it goes hand in hand with the turntablists as well, to be honest.
Yeah, possibly. I think everyone's on the spectrum somewhere or other.
I think everybody in the scratch cap is on the spectrum. I think we're all...
which is strange, because the only gigs we end up doing is kind of like this high pressure fucking standing in front of 1,000 people in a room type thing, which you wouldn't associate with someone who's slightly on the sort of scale, or I'm a very sort of introverted person, but fucking give me a big sound system and it's just like bang.
Well,
I'm the same.
I'm like, you put me, like, if I know people and I'm in a room with people I know, I'm the most extroverted person ever. But if you put me in a room with people I don't know, or you put me in a situation I don't understand, then I'm just like in the corner.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? In the corner, like sit and chat waffle for 2 hours on this. But you put me in a situation I'm not comfortable with, and I'm just like, absolutely not. No way.
You want to get the fuck out of there as soon as possible.
Yeah, literally, yeah. They're using words I don't use.
That's why you'll never make it on. That's why you'll never make it on Britain's Got Talent, Louis.
I would go on there as a stand against you. Like,
we'll have to do a Bristol's Got Talent.
I mean, I've been in situations. Bristol's Got Talent.
Oh my God, you've got to organise that.
I think it's been done, and it was dire. I think it's been done, yeah.
You can get that 75-year-old fucking stripper you were talking about before.
Yeah. Roly-poly, yeah.
Roly. We weren't recording that, were we?
No, thankfully, yeah. I've got such deep opinions on things like that. I was dying inside listening to you two talk about roly-poly. And my problem is with things like that is you talk about that situation, and then I deep dive into what that person's life must have been and what led them to doing this, and it just deeply offends and hurts.
Do you know what? So when she arrived, I controlled the playlist. I turned it on. And then I left the room and I went to the other part of where it was. And there was one other person in the same place that I went to. And we both sort of sat in there and I was like, I just don't really like this.
I would have been there. Yeah, I would have been there. Yeah.
We sort of sat there and was like looking at the photos afterwards. People were like, where's Dan? Where's Dan?
Dan.
And I was like, it's just not my thing.
It's not, there's nothing enjoyable about this situation, unfortunately.
It's just criminal, really.
Sure.
Anyway,
Sure.
That's probably a slightly strange ending.
I mean, yeah, but based on the podcast, it works, doesn't it? Let's face it.
Nick, that was some of the most interesting stories I've heard in a really
I've never won a title, I've never won a fucking championship, but I've done some fucking bizarre
You've got some
crazy stuff, man. That is fascinating, man. You've been like an absolutely awesome guest.
Extremely interesting,
really interesting. And I will get you some of the stuff that you've been asking for. I just am crazy.
I promise, I will.
But yeah, man, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Brilliant. Nice one, guys. Thank you so much.